I'm in Dubai, which is kind of like the epicenter of entrepreneurialism and making money and flash things and materialistic things, and I'm the complete opposite. I refuse to wear brand logos on my stuff. I don't even wear the expensive watches anymore. I don't see any value in those things. The value I see is in how I can make a difference to other people's lives, and that's where the sentence ends.
My name is Lisa Hugo, and I'm obsessed with helping other people find and develop their voices so they can go out and take on the world, be seen as an authority, expert, and speak their truth with utmost confidence because they know that what they have to share will connect with their audience and make a difference. I studied performing arts and spent 20 years of my career traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. I teach you the secrets to speak up and be heard, overcome your fears, to build your speaking skills, and learn how you can use your skills to make a change both in your own life and the lives of others. This is your one-stop shop for all things confident speaking. This is Impact Through Voice. Well, welcome back to the Impact Through Voice podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and today I'm in the studio with Spencer Lodge. Now, Spencer is the host of the most popular podcast in the region, in the Middle East. He's a multiple business owner. He's an investor. He's a proud dad. And most important for my podcast today, he's using his voice to make a difference in the world, to make a difference in other people's lives. So I'm thrilled to have him on the show. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you. I like that. Sounded good, didn't it?
Well, first, I want to say a big thank you. Thank you for rushing over here and being on the podcast today. Now, a little backstory then. You inspired me to start this podcast about 1.5 years ago.
Yay, I'll take that.
And so I want to say a huge thank you, first of all, for being that inspiration and getting this off the ground for me, because I'm not sure if I would have done it without that little push and you were telling me why it's so good to have a podcast.
I'll take that. Thank you for saying that. It's nice to know that people can be, they can take some action from doing what I do and move forward and get the joy that I get out of doing it too. So
share with us then, in your story, what is it that you do? And we don't have to go into the full backstory. I think we'll get to that in a bit. But what is it you do right now?
So I own a bunch of different businesses in the financial services and insurance industry, which is kind of like my background and my backstory. But I suppose I'm a salesman at heart. I love people, and I started a podcast 6 years ago when I was asked to for about 1 year to do it, I think it was, and I was like, oh, what? I remember when I was first asked, you need to do a podcast. I was like, what's a podcast? I had no idea. But 1 year later, I kind of succumbed to it, and probably first 5 or 10 episodes, I was like, why am I doing this? And then from episode 10 onwards, it was just like, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do. And it's taught me so much, and I've met so many amazing people along the way that it's been really valuable to my life.
And the podcast has evolved quite a bit from the time that you first got started to, I think, different phases, right? Can you tell us a bit about the journey?
Yeah, I think that I'm everything you shouldn't do in a podcast.
Right.
So
Why?
And I think really believe that people should pay attention to those stages that I went through, because I think a lot of people get sucked into that too. So it was started out in the whole world of personal development and, the big names in that area, such as Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and blah, blah, blah. And then it moved into real stories about real lives and people that had been through unimaginable difficulties. And I think it would still be there today had it not been one or two of my listeners had said, oh, Spence, those stories are too harrowing. I can't listen to them. I'm not going to be able to listen to your podcast anymore. And it really made me stop and think. And I shouldn't have been swayed by that. But at that time I was. And so then I lent into something a little bit lighter. I started to move into more into business and crypto and the space around that. But my heart always drags me back to real stories from real people that have been through really difficult times and have come out positively, and optimistically.
So you've been on a journey as well outside the podcast with helping other people or finding reward in supporting other people. Tell us a little bit about that side of
Well, look,
Spencer. That side of Spencer.
I'm this egotistical, arrogant, obnoxious type of go-getter, entrepreneurial type of character that was I call myself one of the seagulls from Finding Nemo, because in the movie Nemo, they just go me, and I was very selfish, and I was always about what I could achieve. And then I met somebody who changed my life completely, a lady called Maria Conceição. And once I met her and heard her story and what she'd done and what she'd been through, it just stopped me in my tracks and made me think about others for a minute. And then I spent more and more time investigating that and learning more about that until I become a part of these young girls' lives that Maria has brought over from Bangladesh. And that really was a real kind of a real moment for me to stop thinking about making money and start thinking about where the real juice in life is and what really matters. And I've learned that, and it's sad because I'm in Dubai, which is kind of like the epicenter of entrepreneurialism and making money and flash things and materialistic things, and I'm the complete opposite. I refuse to wear brand logos on my stuff. I don't even wear the expensive watches anymore. I don't see any value in those things. The value I see is in how I can make a difference to other people's lives, and that's where the sentence ends. It doesn't really go any further than that.
It's interesting you bring up the story of Maria, because I was actually listening to another podcast. It's how I binge and prepare for these podcasts this morning. And you shared this story, and I thought to myself, I've met her. I'm sure I've met her. And I bought her book. And so I went to the bookshelf and I found her book on the bookshelf. Cool. And I have to admit that I haven't read it, but now I'm so inspired to go and read that story. And so the little things that we hear through podcasts that inspire action and change, it's interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. You haven't always been like this. So I watched another episode of you where you were demonstrating how to make your first million and how you made your first million. And that was clearly something which was important to you in your early journey. First, tell us a little bit about that, because I think we all want to achieve some kind of financial security, and I think that is important. It's not that we have to be chasing money all the time, but there is a point where we need to get ourselves financially secure and comfortable with the things that we want in life and our future as well, when we're no longer going to be earning money. Just tell us about the mindset behind that.
So contextually, what happened is when I was in financial services in the early part of my career, that was in 1993, selling financial advice to expatriates was more rewarding than selling financial advice in the UK. And that was because the numbers were bigger, i.e. people saved more money, they invested more money, they bought larger amounts of insurance. And because those numbers were bigger, the commissions were bigger. So I very quickly understood how you optimize doing what you're doing, whatever industry that is, whether you're selling cars, whether you're selling houses. If you sell expensive houses, you get more money than if you sell cheap houses, and so on. And so I had this burning ambition to earn £1 million in a year. I just really, there was something inside of me that said it can be done. I worked out a formula to achieve it. And I'm very data driven in everything that I do. I know I'm not brilliant at everything, but I know if I understand the data, then I can lean into that and use that as my tool. So £1 million in a year was 83,333 a month, which was roughly 20,000 a week, which was roughly 4,000 a day. And so I got down to 4,000 a day, and I said to myself, how do I earn £4,000 in a day? What would I have to do? Well, that's 2,000 in the morning and 2,000 in the afternoon. Okay, well, what is that really? Well, that's 500 an hour, 8 hours. Maybe that's 400 an hour, a few more hours. How do I earn £400 an hour? And so I brought it down to that number. And then I started to look at the type of business that I did, the type of clients I worked with, and the type of clients I would need to work with based upon my ability to close those people as clients. And I looked at my closing statistics, and then I realized that to find these clients, there was going to be an easy way and a difficult way. And the difficult way was to sit cold calling people all day long. And the difficult way was to network, which I didn't like. I don't like networking because I think it's prospecting, not networking. And then alternatively, could I get my clients themselves to give me introductions to the kind of people I wanted to do business with? And I saw that as the solution. And so I went hell-bent on working on referrals, and I became obsessed with it, like obsessed. And I worked out I needed to get 9 referrals a day. That's 45 referrals a week. So then that was 4.5 in the morning, 4.5 in the afternoon, 1 an hour. Okay, 1 referral an hour. How can I get 1 referral an hour? And my brain just then went over and over and over and over thinking about how I could do that. And then I deployed strategies, and some worked and some didn't. And so I tailored those strategies. And once I tailored them, I then forgot about everything else. I didn't worry about improving anything else. All I focused on was 9 referrals a day. 9 referrals a day is $1 million a year. 9 referrals a day, $1 million a year. So that was as simple as it needed to be. And so every single day, my goal before lunchtime was to get 9 referrals. And you know, if I get 9 by lunchtime, I've got all afternoon. If I get none in the afternoon, I've still won. If I get more in the afternoon, happy days. So it was like this real laser focus on one thing. And I think a lot of people, everything's overwhelming. It's all so much to do. And it's like, where do I start? And it's like, where do you start? You start getting, understanding your data, number one, no matter what your business is. And then number 2, really focusing on something that you can do really well at and really working hard on improving that if it is the kind of like the key that you're going to use to unlock the potential and the opportunity.
So when it comes to sales, it's all about how we speak. It's all about how we use our words and how we connect with that person on the phone or on a Zoom or in a meeting wherever we're doing it. Did you refine that?
Sales is about asking questions, and I'm naturally very curious, and probably why the podcast has had some success is that I'm actually very curious. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to learn about why people do what they do, why they think the way they think, and why they apply things the way they apply themselves, and why they buy into their own bullshit and stuff like that. And so learning to sell was something that I did at a very early age, and a lot of people, British people in particular, look down at salespeople. Salespeople are the scum of the earth, and it's not something I'm very comfortable with. And I had a real learning experience when I was younger, meeting a really attractive young girl in a bar one evening that was disappointed that I was a salesman and was hoping for an investment banker or a lawyer or somebody. But when we look at salespeople, first of all, no business exists without people selling something.
That's true.
So every single company is selling something, whether we're in a podcast studio, they're selling space in a podcast studio, the camera company sells cameras, everybody's selling something. So if everybody's selling something, why do we not respect those people? Invariably, they're the people that don't get a basic salary. A lot of the time, they're the people that have still got to put a roof over their head, pay for the kids' school and the car they drive and stuff like that. Yet they have those emotional highs and lows every single day to go with it, where one minute somebody says yes and they're punching the ceiling in the car, to the other minute they say no and they're devastated as they walk with their tail between their legs back to their car. And so it's a tough gig, and I just think that a bit more respect should be given. And all of those people that don't like salespeople, they're jobs that exist because of salespeople. If you work as an auditor at KPMG, where do their clients come from? If you work for a bank, where do their clients come from? If you work for an insurance company, an airline, your cabin crew, your pilot, someone's selling these tickets that pays for your pilot's license.
But the reputation comes from people who have damaged it. We only need a certain small category of people who's going to damage it for the reputation for everybody else. And so we have this impression of the sleazy salesman, or the car salesman, or the people who cold call you on the phone, and they don't have the skill set to do anything but just push something on you.
Do we think that pilots are credible? Is that a credible profession?
Yeah, of course it is.
It is, until they fly into a mountainside and kill all the people on the plane.
True. Right.
So are all pilots good? No. Okay. Have we seen some lawyers in our time? Okay, that we've been to court and they've been useless. Yeah, not all, but we all know of someone like
True.
that. Yeah. Have we all been to a doctor that didn't solve a problem? So all we're doing is we're pinpointing it on sleazy salespeople, but there's bad in every industry.
Of course.
I had a company that I wanted to buy a really beautiful kitchen, a German kitchen, and this company says to me, "We can make exactly the same kitchen. Spencer, it'll be half the price. It'll be exactly the same. Buy it from us. Trust us. It's going to be great. I promise you, when that kitchen went in my house, it was horrific. All right. So, that's just, you know, but when it's a salesman selling real estate or financial services or car, this sleazy, or cold callers, it's sleazy. It's like, if you go and work for a company and your company says to you, this is how you find clients, and they teach you a method to use, then you have to use that method. Not everybody can take the pain, the psychological highs and lows of being a salesperson, and that's why often the turnover is high, and so people come into that industry and come out, and that's why there's lots of new starters within the industry too. I just wish that the people that look down at salespeople would just stop for a minute and start to understand their own position, and understand if you're a secretary, if you're a doctor, if you're a receptionist, if you're an administrator, if you're accounts receivable, accounts payable, you're an architect. Where does an architect get his business from?
Of course.
I'm an architect. I'm an upstanding member of the community. I'm not a salesperson. They're scum. Okay, great. So where's your clients coming from? The salespeople that find the clients for you. Oh, we don't have salespeople in our business. The CEO's a salesperson.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because until about 4 years ago, if you'd talked to me about sales, I probably would have had this impression, until I realized that I am my own salesperson. Everybody has to be their own salesperson in their business. You have to be able to manage that. And previously people would say, well, where do you get your clients from? I said, well, they come to me. I have a reputation in the industry. I've got a website. They find me. And I didn't really have to do much to convince or sell anything until I changed my model. And then taking sales calls, because people would find me online but come through and need to build that trust. And then you have to learn this whole process of taking a person on a journey, or listening intently to who they are, what are they struggling, what do they need, and is this genuinely going to be the right solution for them? And then it's genuine, it's heartfelt.
People, at the end of the day, what do salespeople do? They solve problems. That's all they're doing. Yeah, all of us do the same thing. We just solve problems. And so if if you want my services, then we have to have a discussion about how valuable those services are for you. And if they're not valuable, then no problem. There's no hard feelings. It's just sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think that every salesperson has got to get out there and introduce themselves to as many people as possible, and to find the ones that could be interested in what they do.
Yeah. Having said that, though, I still think that communication skills are an important skill when you are
a doctor
communicating with people.
A doctor. But doctors don't always communicate well either.
I'm saying that, but I still...
So I really believe that in every industry there are good and bad. Should there be more sales training for people that go into sales? Absolutely.
Right.
But a lot of the time, what you find in lots of sales companies is the owner of the business is a successful salesperson and believes he can teach that to others. I really believe everything should be built as a structure. It's a skill at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, you wouldn't go and see your vet with your dog if he said, you know what, I've read a couple of books. You know, I listened to this awesome vets podcast on the way to work every day. Come on, give us your dog and we'll see what's wrong with it. You'd be like, whoa. Of
course. All right, I want to change direction and go back to you using your voice now through social media to impact, and your podcast, to impact the lives of other people, to make a difference, to help other people to see what needs to be changed and open up our eyes. Tell us a bit about that journey. You've got a new TV episode show coming out. I want to hear.
Yeah, so... Again, the podcast introduced me to many people. I met a guy called Leon Logothetis one day, and he had a TV show called The Kindness Diaries on Netflix. Hugely successful. I mean, a real kind of box of tissues while you watch it type of thing. And he traveled around the world and he relied on the kindness of others. He believed everybody was kinder than we give them credit for. And when he experienced an extreme act of kindness, he repaid it with a life-changing gift. And so, beautiful show, and I interviewed him, and at the end of the podcast, I said to him, I'm a bit jealous that you've got a TV show and I don't. And he just looked at me and he said, well, why haven't you got a TV show? And I was like, I didn't know what to say, you know, mumbled my words. And he said, look, I'll give you an hour of my time every week for the next 6 weeks. If you can give me goosebumps, then I'll help you make a TV show. And so the following Saturday we got on Zoom and chatted and went through some different ideas, and then the week after that some more, and then the week after that we were kind of getting to a place where we knew, and they were trying to take me down one path, and I really cared about human trafficking and I wanted to do more work on that. And so then a director came on. I remember a director of photography, a producer, all on this Zoom. So the Zoom went from me and Leon to me, Leon, and these different people from a production company. And they were like, look, human trafficking is dangerous. If you want to get into that area, be prepared. We advise you not to, but if you want to, be prepared. And I was like, that I have to do that. And so then we decided we would make a show where we would follow the lives of 3 heroes, the difference they've made to the world, and inspire others to make a difference too. And I've learned through being with these people, but also with other guests on the show, that true joy doesn't come from things. True joy comes from what you can give. True joy comes from spending time with people. And I was just so wrapped up in my own world before then, in this tunnel of, as I said before, me, that I didn't really look at that. And now I do. I look at that in every homeless person, every beggar, every charity. I'm a sucker for listening, because I feel. And once I was able then to identify a part in my body that could feel, I was then, compassionate where maybe I hadn't been before.
Okay. And is that released yet?
It's been finished.
Show?
I literally have a premiere of it, I think, in Las Vegas on the weekend of the Formula One. So we believe that's going to take place then. We've just got a new trailer being done, but yes, it's done now. And I meet the CEO of Netflix later on this month.
Oh, wonderful. And when you were filming that, did that mean that you had to go into these dangerous situations to be there?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we filmed.
Tell me about something that happened.
We started off in. We filmed the lives of 3 heroes. So one was a lady called Lena from Bulgaria. Lena was 17 years old in Bulgaria, got a boyfriend, started dating him. 3 or 4 months later, he said, look, I've taken you on lovely holidays. You live off my money. You probably should get yourself a job. And she's like, okay. He said, I think there's some work at the hospital, at the local hotel, and maybe some bar worker stuff. Go and have a chat with them. And so later that day, she hadn't done it. He said, no problem, I'll drive you up there. He drove her up there. He went and spoke to somebody, and then he could put her into one of the hotel rooms. He said, the manager will come and speak to you in here. Just take a seat here. He made her have sex with 10 men that night, and then every night for the next 3 years. And she was a 17-year-old, and he threatened to kill her mum if she didn't. And so he then drove her to Amsterdam, put her in the red light district in the window, and she became a prostitute in the red light district. And one day a Dutch guy went in to see her, and then he went again another time, and the third time he said, no, I want you to come to my apartment. So she agreed with her pimp that she would go to his apartment. When she walked in the apartment, he took her phones off her and threw them in the canal, called the police. But she was fearful of the police because she's from Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, the police are corrupt. And so she was fearful of the police, but luckily the police came in, stepped in, protected her. It took her 10 years to get him to go to jail, the pimp. So I met with the lawyers. The lawyers told their side of the story. I met with the Die Telegraaf, the newspapers, and they told us what goes on in there. We then did further research in the red light district to find that nearly 90% of the girls there are trafficked. So that was Lena. And Lena now lives in America. She's tough as old boots. She's brilliant, real feisty, tough, strong character. I love her to bits, like real gutsy. And then I was in Spain, which is the human trafficking capital of Europe, Madrid. People, they're coming from South America, and they come in on the promise of work, and they get sucked into all kinds of horrible stuff. We then filmed in Almeria down in the south of Spain, where refugees come across from Africa and they come to Spain looking for work, and the political situation around that. And then we went to Nepal. And Nepal was probably the one that when people watch the show, they're going to connect with Hannah more than anybody else, I think, because Hannah, what we were able to do with Hannah was just a first in the history of that country. So without giving too much away, Hannah comes from a community called the Badi community, where every 8-year-old child becomes a prostitute.
Oh my gosh. Every
8-year-old child. And Hannah didn't want to be. So she had 5 sisters. They all became prostitutes. One went missing, and sometimes they go across the border into India as well. And Hannah ran away, and bear in mind, we were a 2.5 hour flight from Kathmandu in the lowlands of Nepal. And I can't stress how much in the middle of nowhere we were. We were literally genuinely in the middle of nowhere. The airport that we had to fly out of closed that afternoon because they were doing something. And so we couldn't fly when we went to leave. And then there were no hotels. So it was a really difficult thing to try and do. Anyway, she'd hitchhiked. She got away to Kathmandu. She met a priest. He promised to help her. He had to go to the Philippines to preach. He went to the Philippines, got throat cancer. And while he was there, he prayed to God and said to God, look, if you can get me through this throat cancer, I'll help this people. And so he did. And she built a school, she built accommodation, and she's brought 600 of those girls over now from those villages, the Badi community, to Kathmandu to give them a future. And while we were there, we were filmed with the Prime Minister. And my job while we were there was to try, because in Nepal you have this caste system like in India. So the president's up there, the top of the caste system, and then you have the dust of life here, which are the Badi people. And never really do the caste, they interact a little bit, but they don't ever marry to each other and stuff like that. Yeah. While we were there, we were with the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister said, look, you're filming here. And I thought we were getting in trouble for filming. Did we have the right permits and stuff like that? And I said, I want to meet the president. Is it possible? Thinking it was never going to happen. And he said, I'll come back to you. And then 2 days later, they came back and they said, can you wear a suit? And bear in mind, we're filming in the bush. I haven't got a suit to wear. I mean, you go to Nepal, everyone's that big. And I'm trying to buy a suit. It's up here, sleeves up here. It was hilarious.
Tailor-made.
But the president met, and the president... I interviewed the president of the country, and in this one beautiful moment, the president took Hannah into her arms and said, I'll fight for you. And bear in mind, this is somebody that would never make eye contact with Hannah, let alone hold her hands, let alone give her a bouquet of flowers, and let alone put her head onto her breast and say, I'll fight for you. It was quite a remarkable moment for us, and it demonstrated, first of all, the pain that exists in these environments and how cheap life is, but also resilience, and how someone can have the resilience and the fight and the fortitude to push forward and try and fight for her people, and never give in. You know, these girls have sex with men, so they're 8 years old. They have sex with men for a packet of biscuits.
I mean, you've got children. You've got 2 girls. Mm-hmm. So how did that affect you when you see that and then you think of, wow, what if that was my own children? You know what your kids are like at 8 years old. Right? You
can't help but be moved by it, you know. And we filmed with these kids, and so I've spent a lot of time with them. My youngest daughter, Katie, was studying film at the time we made it, and so she came and did a work experience in Nepal.
Oh, really?
She filmed with us.
Wow!
And so she got first-hand exposure at what this was like, and it's awful, but it's also, when you see what Hannah's done, it's also beautiful, because what Hannah has done is said, I'm going to fight for my people. And she has, you know, hero cult-like status in her community because of what she does. And the world needs to know Hannah's story. Like, the world needs to know this girl's story. Just like with Maria, the world needs to know Maria's story. And the more people that know, I think the more people then will be triggered. And hopefully compassion and empathy will be at the end of their lips and in the forefront of their minds. And if it is, then hopefully we can move some people into taking some form of action that's positive, that can learn to defend and protect these people. Now, a lot of people say to me, what do they need? What do they need? Can I give money? Can I give money? And I'm like, they don't need money. Of course they need money. They'll always need money. But they need love. What they need is love. Okay, they need someone to sit down and spend time with them. Go for a walk in the park with them. They just need love, and they need to know that they matter. They need to know that they're significant. They need to know that their lives mean something. And when you give them time and you take time to listen to their stories and you take time to laugh and joke with them, then, you know, I remember Maria's girls. I said to them one night, and we would go for dinner once every couple of weeks, just to somewhere close to where they lived. And one night I said to the girls, you can go anywhere you want, okay? Sunday night, I'm going to take you anywhere you want to go for dinner. Okay, you want to go to the top of the Burj Khalifa? We go. You want to go on a yacht? We go. Whatever you want, okay, we will go for dinner. You name it, I'm going to arrange it. So they went off and they were, oh, don't know what to do. I said, you name it. I said, you want me to get a stretch limo? We'll get a stretch. Tonight is going to be a special night for you, yeah? And they came back to me after about an hour and they said, we know what we want. I'm like, what do you want? They went, I don't know if it's possible. And I'm like, tell me, would it be possible that we could go to KFC? And I just sat down in that moment and broke down because it was something
amazing
and so obviously simple to us,
yeah.
But for them was just like, whoa. And I'm like, you got it. We're going to KFC, and we went to KFC, and I'm like, what one do you want to go to? And they're like, the other side of the Sheikh Zayed Road. There's one over there by the Crown Plaza. I want to go to that one. And I'm like, okay, you got it. We can go there. And we went there, and in KFC, like in these fast food places, they have these screens now. So you don't go to the counter, you go to the screen. And I'm like, girls, just choose whatever you want, okay? Once you've chosen what you want, just let me know and I'll come and pay for it. Okay. 30 minutes later, they still hadn't chosen. 30 minutes, they were like, shall I get a Fanta or a Coke? Shall I get a large or a small? Do I want spicy? Do I want not? Do I want popcorn, chicken? And I'm like, girls, you just need to decide, what do you want? What's coleslaw? And I'm like, okay. And it was just 30 minutes of this. I said, right. So I just went to the counter. I said, get a bucket of everything. Get a bucket of everything and drink. Get every drink. Just put them on the tables and we'll have some fun with it. And it was just beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
I take them hiking, and when we come back from hiking, there's a little restaurant we stop at on the motorway. There's a little shitty, crappy little place, yeah? Oh, man, they love it in there. And we go there, and it makes me realize how we as people are consuming so much crap that is of no value to us nor anyone else, really. Every woman wants their Chanel or their Louis Vuitton handbag. Why? Why do they want it? Why do they want the $5,000 handbag or these Louboutin shoes with the red? Why? What's it for? Because it makes me feel good. I like things. I'm a girl.
But what could you do with that money?
Well, the first time I took Maria's girls shopping, I said to Maria, what do they need? I'll get them whatever they want. She said, they need everything. I'm like, well, what does that mean? She said, everything. I'm like, what does that mean? She said, Spencer, they have nothing at all. What they're wearing is what they have. I went into Carrefour, whether it was pajamas or underwear or sanitary towels or hair clips or shampoo or sneakers. It was just so overwhelming for them, the fact that they were going to have their own pajamas. They were like, what, I get to keep, these are mine. I'm like, they're yours. They're like, they couldn't even process it. It was that powerful for them. They spent hours around this twiddly stand, and it had hair clips on with butterflies and ladybirds and caterpillars and stuff like that. And they're just looking at them for ages. And I'm like, girls, get some hair clips. They're like, what, to keep? And in these moments, things. it just for me, it makes me go, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why is one of the richest men in the world selling Louis Vuitton handbags? Why is he? Who are you trying to impress? What are you trying to do? Maria said to me, the girls need some dresses. I ordered, and I'll give you this number. I ordered 30 dresses, and those 30 dresses that I ordered cost me £90 for 30 dresses. And I've got videos of the girls when they first got their dresses on, and they're like, oh, you've got no idea how cool this dress is. We're so happy. I've got videos of it.
That's so beautiful.
And to me, it's like, I don't get it now. So I don't get why, and I know if you've got lots of money, you want to buy nice things because it makes you feel good. But I've made money. My first Ferrari that I bought when I was 28 years old, I bought it, and it was the best thing since sliced bread for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, it was a car.
Yeah.
And that's like a really indulgent, expensive purchase. I don't see any point in spending money on those types of things anymore, because true joy, true deep, meaningful joy comes from spending time with people that are so less fortunate than you, and just seeing their faces react, to a hair clip or a KFC.
It's priceless. You can't put a price on that. Yeah. Change direction again. When did you realize that you had a voice and you could use your voice by being out on social media and being on a podcast or speaking from stage, And when was that something that you chased after or wanted to do?
I don't think I ever consciously stepped into that. I think I believe strongly in some things. And like all of us, when we have a really strong opinion about something, we want to convince others that we have the right opinion. And I think I'm no different to anybody else from that point of view. I'm desperate for people to be successful. And people seem to want to sabotage themselves at every opportunity. People want to get in their own way so often. And there's opportunity that exists for everyone, no matter what your goal and desires are. If you want to be the most charitable person in the world, you can be. The most philanthropic, you can be. The most successful podcaster, lighting designer, camera salesperson, whatever you want to be, you can be. And everybody that wants to be whatever they want to be can be. But they keep getting in their own way. And so I want to keep reminding people that you got to get out of your own way, and getting to success isn't actually very difficult. It's just a step-by-step process that you can follow once you know the process, but you got to take the action. And I believe it's very much like going to the gym, losing weight, these things. Losing 5 kilos is hard. All right, it's hard. Everyone that's ever tried it, it's hard, you know. And it's like 5 kilos. What's 5 kilos? It's hard.
Depends on your phase of life. In the 20s, it was easy. In the 30s, it started to get harder.
Do you know
40s,
what?
50s.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I agree that it's hard for everybody that has to lose 5 kilos. Okay. Or whatever that weight is. It requires a change of diet, a change of habits, a change of behavior, and consistently done. And until that goal is reached. There are some people, you know, like that woman that won Slimmer of the Year. She lost, 50 kilos or something. Because she got to that moment, she said, never again. It's like that woman that gets cheated on one too many times. Eventually she goes, never again, enough. And she will never go back to it. And she'll never give that person another chance. It's that type of moment. And a lot of us don't get to those moments. But in business, we seem to have a great ambitions and desires to be career focused and build a successful this and do a successful that and yada, yada, yada. And it never happens for so many people because the negative self-talk gets in the way. The doubts and the bad habits are in there. And the number one person that stops you achieving your goals is you. And the number 2 person that stops you achieving your goals, believe it or not, is you. And so is the number 5 and the number 10 and the number 20. We aren't influenced enough by others, okay, to stop us being what we want to be. The number one influence is ourselves. And every mum that's out there that goes, I can't do it because I'm a mum and I've got 2 kids. I'm so sorry. But there's too much evidence arguing your point. There's too much evidence of mums out there that have become mega successful. There's too much evidence of women that have had children at 16 that have become successful. There's too much evidence of women that have had disabled children at 16, okay, and come from a broken home that have been successful. There's just too many examples. You can't use it as an argument. You can't put a but in front of everything because there's proof that what you're saying is bullshit. Not opinions, proof of what you say is bullshit. And I really believe people need to get out of that frame of mind. And so I bang on so much about being what you want to be and achieving what you can achieve, because I truly believe that if we just got out of our own way, we'd find the world would open up to us and the path would lead us to where we wanted to go.
So that leads you into then wanting to be out there speaking on social media to get your message out, to help other people. And it just transitioned. It just happened. You didn't intentionally say, okay, now I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to start filming, or I'm going to go out and step onto this stage.
So when I first started filming, I remember making my first video. I got this sucker thing from my window in my office, and with floor-to-ceiling windows in the office. And I watched this stuff on YouTube, and it was like, make sure there's light on your face. And I'm like, oh, box ticked. I've got light on my face. Make sure you have good sound. Oh, microphone. Oh, I plugged the microphone into this. You know, it was like 3 meters long, this thing, under my T-shirt. I'm mic'd up now, I've got lights, I'm now making a video. And I made this god-awful video. And then I made probably another 50 god-awful videos afterwards and just got into the groove. And I said to everybody in the office, I'm going to set up one of the meeting rooms as a studio. What I want everyone to do, and I'm going to leave it there for 2 weeks, go in there, sit in front of the camera, press record, and just do a 1-minute introduction on yourself. Not even 10% of the office could do that. Yeah. They were so worried about how they would look, how they would sound, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to use social media at the very beginning of that journey to generate leads for my business.
Okay.
That's it. because someone had said to me, one to many. Yes. Rather than one to one. So this one to many thing, and you need to talk to lots of people. So I did my first Facebook Live video. I remember that.
How long ago is that?
Oh, this is 12 years ago. Yeah. I'll tell you when it was. 2015 or 16, that's when it was. So, and I remember doing my first Facebook Live, and my mum was the only one on there, and she's like, she's commenting, "Where's your tie? Why haven't you got a tie?" Because my mum only ever sees me in a suit when I work. She said, "Why haven't you got a tie on?" And I was like, "Mum, bugger off, will you? I'm trying to do a video here." Yeah. And nobody watched. And then I remember being 20 or 30 of those in, and still there are only 20 people on there.
My first Facebook Live, I remember that vividly as well. I was in a coaching session with a young prodigy who went on to be the finalist in America's Got Talent, and we thought, let's go live today. And I felt she was helping me to find out where the buttons were. I felt so ancient. And then at the end, I couldn't close it down. And somebody found that video and have now posted it on YouTube with me still trying to find the buttons of closing down this Facebook. Anyway.
I like that though.
Yeah.
I like that because I'd go back to that and I'd go, this is where I was.
That's true.
And now look at us sitting in this fancy studio that you've got with your fancy podcast, with your fancy guests doing this amazing work.
That's a really good point.
From there to here, I mean, great, wonderful, wow, you know.
That's a good point. And I think this is what holds so many people back also, because they think they have to be perfect to get started instead of just doing it. If you know the first time is going to be crap, then get it out of the way so you can move on and you can learn from it and keep getting better and better and better.
Well, there's the flip, isn't there? I believe that everybody has a chance of being successful. The reality is 99% of people are hell-bent on not being successful. And that makes it easier for the ones that are hell-bent on being successful.
So they're just not motivated enough or really have the drive to
there's a myriad of reasons, isn't there? There's fear, there's perfection, there's overwhelm, there's lethargy, there's naivety, there's arrogance. You know, there's a load of stuff. I'm just not very good on social media. It's like, I'm 54 years. I'm like a middle-aged white man. I'm the worst example of what social media or someone looking to be successful on social media has. I'm not young. I'm not a minority. Okay, I don't have one leg. You know, I'm literally the most vanilla worst example, you know, hair slicked back, look like a salesman, you know, it couldn't be worse for me.
That people follow you.
But if I can do it at 54 years old and be sitting here, okay, then there's no reason why anybody else can't.
Would you call yourself an influencer?
Nah.
No?
No, not through social media, no.
Right.
I mean, what is it, 160, 70,000 people across my channels. It's not much. You know, I don't think I'm an influencer. I think I influence people individually. I'm not necessarily sure I'm an influencer in that way. Yeah. My podcast doesn't make me an influencer. It makes me someone who's really keen on sharing other people's stories. You know, I'm literally like with the documentary. I'm the conduit. I narrate the story. With the podcast, it's not about me. It's about, as in this one, is about me. You're interviewing me. In my podcast, if I interview you, it's all about you. I want to suck as much out of you that's as valuable as possible for the people that are listening and watching.
Exactly.
So that they leave that episode and they go, I got something from that.
Yep. I saw you for the very first time. I got to know you when you were speaking on the Najahi stage back in 2020, Cha-Ching. Mm-hmm. And you did a 3-day event. And towards the end of that event, on that last day, you were fighting to get your voice out. You were really losing it. You were very hoarse. And I think I reached out to you and I said, you know, if you want some help, I can help you out with, you know, learning some good vocal techniques so that doesn't happen to you. Have you ever explored any coaching in that area to give you stamina to be able to manage through long conversations?
I know why I suffer with it, because I do this thing called Inner Warrior. And it's where I get the audience to roar, and I roar as well. And I do that every day, sometimes twice a day. And whenever I do that, if I do that at 9 o'clock on day one, I'm in trouble. If I do that, and I always try and get people going like that. So, other than that, I don't generally tend to. What I do notice when I come off stage though is that I'm wiped out. I'm exhausted, literally mentally exhausted, because you're just at a concentration level all day for that period of time. Do I need some help with my voice and my breathing? I'm sure. But the way that I would, if I was selling that, for example, for a living to people, I would show them the befores and afters, or what it sounds like to other people, because I only know what I sound like to me. And so I don't have any reference point of someone saying, actually, this. I'd love to, though. Now I'm thinking about it, I'd love to.
Yeah. I mean, when people start working with me...
Can I sound like Charles Aznavour?
When people start working with me, they're fascinated because I go all into how your voice works and how you can be in control of it. And it's
So you could teach me to be a singer?
I'm not talking singing, I'm talking speaking. But yes, they're both connected, intuitively connected.
La, 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 la.
All right, show me how you breathe. When you take a deep breath, let's do a little.
How do I breathe?
Yeah, take a nice deep breath for me right now. That's all wrong.
Okay.
No, because you're breathing into your chest. You're breathing it all up here instead of breathing into your belly. And then when you breathe to your belly, you've got all that control to support your voice, give you strength. I don't want you to see my belly. That's just the start. Your voice comes from your breath, which starts right down here, then your vocal cords, and then your natural resonance, which will give you a richer, fuller, more interesting tone. Take that edginess.
You've got one of those what do you call it, 50 Shades of Grey voices, haven't you? Though, you know, one of those kind of like one of those agony aunt types of voices, really kind of like soothing and sexy as you speak.
Well, you can play with your voice. You can put more air in your voice and come down and be soft and sensual.
Oh my God! I don't want to know what goes on in your bedroom.
All right, when you go on stage, do you get nervous? Hello. Where are we going? Do you get nervous when you go out in front of a large audience?
For the first 10 minutes before I start, yeah. As soon as I'm on stage, no.
Okay.
So for 10 minutes, I don't want to mess it up. I want everyone to have a great experience. I want everyone to really enjoy it. And so, yeah, that kind of 10 minutes before, because I'm going over my notes and 10 minutes before, I'm like, okay, you can't go over them anymore. Prep, get a bit nervous, but the moment I stand on stage, I'm in my happy place. So,
do you go through any techniques before you go out on stage? Do you breathe? Just to breathing
like,
correctly?
No breathing, just pumping, kind
okay.
of like bouncing, being on my toes, making sure that there's lots of life in my body. And I'm a morning person as well, so I love to be able to start the morning doing stuff like that.
No big roars before you go on stage then?
No, I don't know. No, I save the roars for everybody else, but no.
Well, it's interesting because I was recently at a conference, and do you know David Phillips? David J.P. Phillips?
No.
So he's a communication coach out of Sweden, and he was on stage teaching all the different hormone levels that you can take your audience through, from the dopamine to oxytocin and endorphins. And he was talking about the testosterone, and you need a certain element of testosterone, I can't even say it, before you go out on stage. And so he got the entire audience to do this pumping up, and we were walking through the room, and so many people lost their voice. So I think the concept is great, but I think it's not a good technique to use before you go out on stage from the perspective of saving your voice.
Yeah.
I
don't think any of my testosterone is engaged while I'm on stage. I think
I'm actually reading his book High on Life. It's interesting.
Oh, really?
David J.P. Phillips. It's been wonderful having you on the show. Thank you for coming in, for sharing so much of yourself, your insights, the things which move you and motivate you, and how you're using your voice. People should go and listen to your podcast. Where can they find you?
The podcast is out there. Unscripted with Spencer Lodge is out there, so you can find it there. You can find it on YouTube at Spencer Lodge. My name sounds like an old people's home. It's so easy to find me. Instagram spencer.lodge. But if my name sounds like an old people's home, so
no, it doesn't.
You won't forget it quickly, Well,
I had so much more I wanted to chat with you, and I think I'm going to rack your brains post this podcast on a few things, but I really appreciate you coming and you sharing your insights, and I'm sure everyone's going to find so much value in this podcast. Thanks again.
Thank you. And lastly, well done. You're on
thank you.
episode 29, 30 in. You've got this podcast going. You started it and you've continued with it where so many people haven't. So it's only onwards and upwards from you. So well done so far on what you're doing. It's really good.
Thank you. And thank you for the inspiration. Congratulations Congratulations, you've just finished another episode of Impact Through Voice. You're well on your way to making a positive impact in the world with your voice. If you want more, head on over to lisahugo.com/podcast for show notes and all the links that we mentioned in this episode. Until next time.